Hey guys, welcome to the 30 Days to Learn Adobe After Effects course. My name is Vincent Nguyen, and today in this lesson, we're going to start talking about basic techniques, in specific, precomps and why they're useful within After Effects. After Effects, you're probably wondering, what is a precomp? Never heard of it before, and why are they even useful in the first place? Well, precomps are nothing more than just regular compositions, but we call them precomps because we precompose them in order to do something later. So for an example, I'm going to create a text here, and I'm going to call it, just call it 3D text. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's say I wanted to duplicate this thing many times, but they're just going to be the same 3D text source right here. So I'm just going to precompose this or precomp it. So precomp things by highlighting all the layers that you want to precompose, and then going to layer, precompose. And this is kind of like grouping things together within Photoshop or Illustrator, or kind of flattening things down. And there are so many reasons why you would want to do this for a myriad of effects and plugins, but I'm trying to brush the surface here. So you can either leave all the attributes in the main comp, which means that, if we have an effect applied to this, if we precompose it, that effect is going to be either going to be transferred into the new composition, or is it going to be left outside the composition? So I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'm going to select the move all attributes into the new composition. That means it's just going to take everything that's even on this 3D text layer, and it's all going to move it into a new composition. And right here we can name our new composition name. So we'll just call this one text source. So now we don't actually have our text layer anymore. We actually have a text source composition here. And if we click into it, you can see that the text source composition is nothing more than just our 3D text. So we pretty much just transferred our text layer into a new composition here. And so now we can duplicate this thing many times. And you can duplicate layers by selecting your layer and then going to Edit, Duplicate, or Control-Command-D. And so that way we just made a whole bunch of copies of our text here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them all. I'm going to make them all 3D layers. Now keep in mind that these are all the same thing. All these compositions are the exact same. They're the same text source composition that has our 3D text within it. So with all of our layers selected, let's go ahead and hit P on the keyboard to show the position of all these same compositions here. So I'm going to leave the first at 0 in the z-axis, but I'm going to change the second one to 1 pixel in the z-axis, then 2, 3, 4, and 5, and keep on doing this until you reach the end. So I'm finished now, and I changed all the z-axis positions by 1, and the last number I have here is 21 pixels pushed back in z space. And that's just going to move all of the compositions that are the same back by 1 pixel in the z-axis. So let me just create a new camera so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And if I rotate to the side, rather than having a flat text, we actually have some basic extrusions here. So how does this even work? How do we even do that? Let me explain one more time. Basically what we did was we duplicated the same composition 22 times, and we pushed them, or we offset their position by 1 each time. So our first 3D text is up front. We push one back to create a 1 pixel extrusion. We push another one back to create a 3 pixel extrusion, so on and so forth and so on and so forth. So pretty much we're just duplicating the same composition and pushing them all back in Z space, which is in the depth. So we're kind of creating a kind of a pancake stacked up 3D text. And this is kind of a pseudo 3D text. So not really perfect, but it kind of does sell the effect here. And if I create a new light, you're going to see that it does react to lights here. So let's just make it a white light. So that's pretty cool, but what happens if we want to change this text here to something else? Maybe we want to change it to effects instead. So if we were to do this without pre-comping, we would have to go into all the individual text layers here and change the type and all that stuff. And that's a really big pain. Or what if you wanted to change the font? You would have to change the font for 22, 23 layers here. And then also change the size if you want to change the size. And that's where pre-comping comes in. And this is what I want to call the domino effect here. So as you can see, these are all the same text source composition. So we don't have to change all of these layers here. We can just go back into the text source here. We can change the font to maybe a different type of family. So maybe we can change it to extra bold. And then we can change it to, instead of 3D text, we can change it to effects. And when we go back into the main composition, you can see that everything updates because these are all the same compositions here. And so if we just change one, it's going to change all of the same text compositions here. So it's kind of the domino effect. And this is one of the handy regions that you want to pre-compose or pre-comp things, because you get that domino effect and you can do all your edits in here, and that all those edits are going to ripple down and carry out throughout all of your compositions that are the exact same. So it's very, very handy. There are many, many more practices and many more reasons why pre-composing would be very, very handy, because sometimes you need to flatten things out before you apply more effects onto it. So it's kind of like merging layers or rasterizing layers. Sometimes you just kind of need to rasterize them, group them together, and apply more effects so they blend in together or work better with the effect. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the series, but in this case, that's pretty much it for pre-composing. It's just kind of grouping things together into a new composition on its own, so we kind of have some organization and some workflow here. So really basic overview of pre-comping and why they're useful. In the next lesson, we're going to be talking about layer maps and controlling layers with other layers. So if you guys have any further questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the forums so I'll get to them as soon as I can. And once again, guys, my name is Vincent Nguyen. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye, guys.